You know, I guess somebody's going to have to just finally say it as it is. You know, the problem is that there's a real big problem in our country, and the political infighting is not bringing an answer. It's not fixing any problems. It's just making them worse. And the problem is that we're going to have to find a new way. Maybe it's a temporary way, but we've got to find something that's going to truly fix the problem, not talk about it all the time. You know, when you have a leaky roof, you can talk about, well, it was a bad contractor that built your house. You can talk about the bad composite of the shakes or the shingles or the roofing materials. You can talk about, you know, how bad it is, you know, that this is going to cause mildew later on. You know, you can do all that. But it's not until you get somebody that knows how to fix it that's going to fix it. And all we have are people talking about the problem. And that's all it is. And what we need is a real life solution. And it may be something kind of radical where everybody takes a cut, you know, for a year or two. The entitlement programs that we've had, maybe people are going to have to, you know, for a couple of years, say, you know what, we're going to have to live less than we have. The problem is that we're not growing business. That's the problem. You know, you look at all these businesses, these great empires, whether they were the auto empires or other industries that were, you know, grew to become empires, and they were able to offer some wonderful incentives for people to come and work for them, you know, like pensions, like healthcare. And had the businesses continued, you know, to thrive and to grow and to maintain a certain level of commerce and economy, you know, there wouldn't be a problem. But what happened is a lot of the businesses, and I guess that's one thing we have to learn, is that, you know, businesses are not forever. And that they do have a responsibility to the people they've made promises to. You know, if you've worked for GM for 30 years and now you're retired and you've got, you know, another 20 or 30 years to live, possibly, and you've paid into the pension plan, they should honor that. You know, maybe they can't. But something has to change, and it's not changing. All they're doing is blaming people. And what we need is a real leader or a set of leaders that can really come in and fix the problem. And I don't know what happened. We used to have people that were true specialists, and they could fix things. I mean, when things were really dire, you know, it's like, you know, you break the glass, and, you know, this specialized person, you know, comes to the rescue. And unfortunately, we don't have, it seems like we don't have people like that who are somehow waiting in the wings, whether you want to call it waiting in the shadows, you know, for these emergencies. Right now, what we have are a bunch of clowns, you know, cardboard cartoon cutouts that are posing as leaders, and they're not. And I don't know where the leaders are. Maybe we stopped making them. I do believe that there are some around, but for the most part, when we had the oil spill, there really was nobody to call to fix that. They say it's kind of fixed now. Who knows? This financial crisis, which has been going on now for over 2 years, and it really started, I think, 4 years ago. The problem is that you can see the problem, but nobody has the courage to come up with some real interesting proposals that will truly work. I mean, it's granted you can have political views about things, but economy shouldn't be based on politics. I mean, you know, business is money. You know, it's mathematics. You have so much, you spend so much, you save so much. That's just the bottom line. I don't know if one of my ideas is like, okay, look, everything is so messed up with the national debt in the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. There's no way you can fix that. What there needs to be is like a big reset button that needs to be pressed, and we all start over again. That might be pretty drastic, but that might be the only way out. But we've got to stop destroying business. I mean, if we're going to be a free market society, a true capitalistic society, you got to have free enterprise. And all we do is we tax the business people to such an extent that they can't do business anymore. They are pretty much, they're pretty much destroyed. Their businesses are destroyed. They're not making the reasonable amount of profit, because then everything goes back into paying taxes. A lot of businesses have left California because of the high taxation on these businesses, and a lot of businesses have simply just been destroyed. They died. Go by some of these little strip malls, and more you see places that used to be a little mom and pop business. It's all dark, closed up, for lease. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, my personal opinion is that, politics as usual is not the solution. It's really the problem. It's like two little kids fighting over a bleeding dog. The dog is bleeding to death, and one kid goes, "It's my dog! No, it's my dog! No, it's my dog! No, it's my dog!" And all the while, the dog is, edging closer and closer to, morbidity. Somebody's got to, smack the two little kids, say, "Shut up, sit down," and take the dog to the vet who's going to stop the bleeding. But until that happens, all that we're going to do is continue to get the same old whining and blaming game that has been going on for the last 3 or 4 years, or actually the last 40 years, or 60 years. And that's just my take on it. I don't know what the answer really is, except to find a few good leaders. And at this point, I'd even settle for some good old-fashioned adults. I remember when I was a kid and you broke something. You did something stupid that was potentially very destructive. Let's say you started a fire in the garage. And, if you've ever started a fire, you know how frightening it can be. Maybe you're playing with matches, and all of a sudden something sparks, and you find out, you got a fire, and now it's hit some flammable solution, or hit some old rags that have oil in them, and man, all of a sudden, instead of it being just a small fire, now it's burning the ceiling, and you are scared to death. That fire now is it's bigger than you are. And all of a sudden, you are panicking and you don't know what to do. There's nothing you can do because fear has now has you in its clutches. You're useless. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, your dad comes in or your Uncle Bob comes in and he has a fire extinguisher and he starts squirting that fire and putting it out. Oh, and by the way, you're starting to choke on the smoke. Thought I'd put that in there. So he puts the fire out, and then he takes you out, and he gives you a real good talking to about the dangers of playing with matches, or the dangers of, maybe you were doing some soldering, and that's how the fire got started. It was an accident. Maybe it's just an accident, an honest mistake, but it happened. So that's the thing. We need a good old-fashioned group of adults with a couple of really great leaders to come up with some real solutions that can fix the problem. But until those people come to the fore, I don't know what's going to happen. Because the same old political backfighting and back and forth is only going to make things, it's already making things worse. It's not solving the problem. So here's to that that foresighted adult leader who comes forward to really fix things. And I tell you what, when those people come around, it'll truly change the nature of this country for the better. Not a bunch of promises of change, not a promise of hope, but the real deal. Not the artificial thing, but the real deal. And everybody will experience it. Now, it doesn't mean everyone's going to become, multimillionaires overnight or, super prosperous. And it doesn't mean a lot of people will find themselves maybe not losing their homes because maybe they're already underwater and it's too late to help them. But the overall nature of the country will change for the better. But right now, it is truly getting worse. And it may be too late. Many people today believe it's too late. That that this country is pretty much doomed. I hope not. I like to believe that there's still, good people out there who, and hopefully the general tenor of the country is that people would be willing to do what's right, even at personal expense, to fix the problem for everybody, So that's my take on the problems of our country. I wish I had some concrete solutions, but I'm not an economist. I'm not a businessman. But I think I'm a rational thinking human being, and I think that the answer is when people, men and women of goodwill, and some, just some good old-fashioned street smarts and the courage to make things happen, decide to step up to the plate, it'll be like your Uncle Bob or your dad coming in and saying, with the fire extinguisher and putting out the fire. But I don't know where those people are. I do believe they're somewhere in our society, and maybe, just maybe, they'll be making their appearance rather soon. Let's hope so. Thank you. My take on the problems with our economy.